My uncle passed away in 2005 at the age of 39, which is the same age that I am now, which puts a whole new perspective on death. To think that he was my age and passed away so suddenly is definitely a experience that I had that really had a profound effect on me.
Does that have any effect on your daily life?
It does. Even though he was my uncle, he was more like a big brother to me because he was only 12 years older than I was. And so all the lessons that he taught me and all the different things that he advised me on as I grew up, I now don't necessarily have that person that I can call and say, hey, this is what I'm going through, and have that opinion that he could offer from a brotherly point of view. And so it's been hard to kind of have to deal with that, and I've had to find other people that I trusted to go to with those issues.
Um, at what
Probably when I had my first child. At that point, it begins to be more about the family unit than about yourself. When I was a young man, I could do whatever I wanted, and it only affected me. And even when you're married, it affects you as a group, but you can still also do things that would only affect you. But once you have a child, you're solely responsible for that child's well-being and welfare. And so I really made decisions on my job and where we lived and how I spent my money a whole lot differently than I did before I had a child myself. I wish that I had finished school, college, when I was a young person instead of trying to do it now. It would have made my life a lot easier financially, to be able to earn more early on, and it would have made my career choice different because I feel like had I gotten my bachelor's degree as a young man, I would have probably not gone into the maintenance field, which is where I make my living now, and I would have probably been more in the lines of business or maybe in the medical field. And so, I kind of make my living using my hands and my back more than I do my mind, and that's challenging sometimes. I do like to see a finished product when I'm done working, but at the same time, I think that I could have used my intelligence a little better. Absolutely. I believe firmly in Christianity and that the good Lord created all that we see, and that His Son came and died on the cross and was killed and buried and resurrected, and that those who live according to the beliefs that He established for us will see Him one day, and those who don't will face eternal punishment. They definitely change because you have to realize how your time is more valuable than you realize when those people are with you, and you have to prioritize and take advantage of the times that you have with the people that you love. Absolutely. When you're young, you have a belief that you're invincible, I think. I felt like I was. When I was an 18-year-old, I thought that I was going to live forever and that nothing could hurt me and that nothing could kill me and that, I was the toughest guy on the block. And now as I look at 40, I realize that I'm definitely not the toughest and I'm definitely not invincible, and that time will eventually catch up to me. So my perspective changed drastically over the last 20 something years. And I think that that's natural, and I think that anyone who has any maturity and intelligence has that same change from a feeling of invincibility to non. For the most part, I feel like that I am a very open person, and so all the relationships that I have, people know how I feel about them. The only relationships that I could say maybe need mending would be very peripheral. With some cousins who I've just not been as close to as I used to be when we were younger, and so I don't know if those need mending exactly as much as I would like to maybe see them more and get our level of contact back to the way that it has been in the past. My mother is passed away for 5 years, and my father is living in Michigan. And from the time that I was a little boy, I never really had much of a relationship with my dad. He was and still is, unfortunately, very immature and is very selfish. And so I made the conscious decision to not subject my family, you and your brother and everyone, to the yo-yo treatment that I feel like that exists in that relationship. He draws us close when he needs us, and then when he doesn't need us, then there's no contact for extended periods. So I've never really put a lot of effort into fostering that relationship. To value people for who they are. We are a society that judges on appearance, and we are a society that labels people, and we do not take the time that we should to really get to know people before we make any kind of judgment or decision on who they are and how we should treat them. And I would really like it if we would follow Dr. Martin Luther King's opinions and judge people on the content of their character and really get to know them before they make any kind of decisions on who that person is. I can't narrow it down to one. I would have to say there's two. One would be the decision to marry my wife, and that led to my family. But before that would have been the decision to become a Christian. I think both of those are very important milestones for me. They both have been very beneficial decisions for me, and they have both given me a lot of joy in my life. So, if I had to pick one, it would probably be being a Christian. But I've never actually put pen to paper and created a official bucket list. There are lots of things that I would like to do in my mind. So I guess I have a running bucket list in my mind, but I've never sat down and actually put them on paper. But I would love to go see the western half of the United States. I've been to most of the eastern and middle part of the United States, and I've been to Alaska. So I would really like to see all 50 states, but particularly like the Grand Canyon and the areas out through there. And then I would also like to go to Europe. So, and I'm really not afraid of death or dying. I don't think anybody wants to die that doesn't have some issues. But I understand that it's a natural part of life. And so I live every day to try to have as much fun as I possibly can, to bring humor and liveliness into everyone's life that I come in contact with. And I try to impart as much knowledge as I can to everyone I come in contact with, so that when I'm gone, people can sit around and remember me fondly and in happy times, and not negatively. Because those are the ways that I remember my mom and my grandfather, all the wisdom that they gave me and all the fun that we had together. And that's what I want to do for everyone that knows me.